year before the season starts, people come out to talk about their season-long prediction. With their hottest take, who will win the championships, how many times will Ferrari screw up their own strategy, but to be fair, the good Samaritans that they are, McLaren this time out took the reins and said, don't worry Ferrari, you're going to have the worst season of this era, however, we'll take those strategy calls off you, thank you very much. But as you could guess, I am no different to everyone else when it comes to making these predictions. And I decided to show mine at the start of 2025. So take a journey back with me to delve into my 2025 season F1 predictions. And let's go and figure out how many I got right, how many were absolutely off the mark, and how many were, you know, sort of 50-50. You could take that, you couldn't. Up to the comments to decide. And wow, stay tuned because I will tell you, there were a couple of crazy takes that I suggested. And just looking back at it, my oh my, what the hell was I thinking? And I started off the video with my hot takes. And my first one has to be that there are going to be more than 6 drivers winning a race. Now, of course, the drivers who I expect to win, both McLarens, both Ferraris, Verstappen and Russell. But with Lawson in that Red Bull, and with Kimi Antonelli in that Mercedes, don't write them off just yet. We'll see if they can. But more realistically, I'm thinking there's going to be at least one chaotic race this season where we could see a Williams or an Alpine win. Don't count out Lawson. Fucking hell, what am I on about? You know what? Let's start off with what I actually got right. We sort of did have some crazy races, and we did have some crazy results to go along with it. Now, were these results as big as wins for the lower down teams? Absolutely not. But we did see people like Nico Hülkenberg on the podium, Carlos Sainz, Isaac Hadjar. So, sort of 50-50 right on that. There were enough races to throw out those, which sometimes in some seasons we don't get that many midfield drivers on the podium, but nowhere near a win, so definitely not right there. Antonelli also got close-ish, but the rest is just so bad. Where do I even start? The Lawson take, my oh my, that was absolutely dreadful. Ferrari as a whole, the hype around them at the start of 2025 season was so big. You have to understand why I went for that, but not even close. In the end, we got 4 race winners: Russell, Verstappen, Piastri and Norris. But yeah, no Ferrari really screwed me over because I'm not counting sprint races on this tally of race wins. Antonelli not being exactly there. Red Bull still having second driver issues and not having a crazy race just added up to this prediction being so far off. So we started off perfect. Oh my word. 1-0. Bad takes are winning right now. Then the second take is sort of a lukewarm take these days, but I didn't expect Williams to be so fast in preseason testing, but I'm not going to back down. I'll probably make it top 4 now, but it's Carlos Sainz to get, well, it was a top 5 result in that Williams at least once. I'll say top 4 now. Yes, yes, yes. Come on. I knew that good takes were coming. I had to come out with a few good takes, surely, right? Well, this probably had to be my best one. And I'm really annoyed with myself that I didn't keep it as a podium. Because I was really tussling on, should I be just top 5, top 4, top 3? And I should have kept it as a Carlos Sainz podium because he got 2 of them. Bang on. This is probably one of my best predictions of the video. And hey, Carlos Sainz was one of the best of the rest drivers on the grid this season. He had such a bad start with Williams, but then once he got a little bit more adjusted to life, I think he really shined. And I'm really happy with that one. 100% that is a good take. So now we're at 1-1. Finally, on the hot takes, we have my hot take for the constructors, which is your big 4 in no particular order, as you know, I'll get to the Constructors' Championship in a second. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren are all going to be within 125 points of each other. So first to fourth, 125 points. Now, that might seem like a biggish buffer, but considering how tight the season was last season, and McLaren had a 200-point gap to Mercedes, I think that's pretty reasonable. Oh, come on, man. Just as I was saying, we're on a little bit of a roll now, getting it up to even Stevens, and I come out with this. It wasn't even close. Again, let's start off with the actual good take in the bad take. And second to fourth were only covered by 71 points. So I was right in the sense of I did think it'd be close in the top 4, but it's not all right, is it? Because McLaren absolutely ran away with it. I did not expect them to run away with it by that much. McLaren were 435 points off Ferrari splitting the top 4. So it just wasn't. I was miles off on this prediction. Yeah, that is definitely a bad take, 2-1.
So we'll start off with the pole positions. For me, who is going to get the most pole positions in the 2025 season? Not Lando Norris, not Oscar Piastri. That McLaren's better on the long pace. Not George Russell. His qualifying pace is brilliant, but Mercedes is too on and off from what we've seen. Not going to be Verstappen, not going to be Lawson, and it's not going to be Antonelli. For me, it's one of the Ferrari boys, and it's not Hamilton, it's Charles Leclerc.
Pole positions. Yeah. Leclerc's definitely going to get pole positions. My oh my. Twice in this video, I knew I was going to get a lot of Ferrari hype that really screwed me over. And well, hopefully this is the last time in the video it is, but Ferrari, yeah, pole position, Charles Leclerc, not by a mile. Now, he did actually get 1 pole position, so he was on the board at least for one of the races. But I can't say that gets him the win. Verstappen got 8 with Norris on 7. He's not even close. Again, Ferrari just weren't good this year. So any prediction I made about Ferrari, considering we thought they'd be title contenders at the start of the season because of just how well 2024 ended, meant the prediction was going to be bad. And that now makes it 3-1. I really need to fix up for the rest of the video.
I have gone for Lando Norris to win the 2025 Drivers' Championship. Now, I do have a few little stats in my head. Of course, McLaren, the most consistent top runner at the end of 2024. Lando Norris won in Abu Dhabi 2024. Normally, who wins in Abu Dhabi does go on to do well the next season, winning the championship. But like I said, all of those are sort of, they don't really matter at the minute. I can't lie to you. It is generally just because I want Norris to win, and I think he's going to do it.
Get it? Actually being biased worked for once. Because you know what? With how close it got, finishing between Norris, Verstappen and Piastri, I still stand by what I said at the start of the year, and I actually said it at the second half of the season as well. Pick and choose, flip a coin between Norris and Piastri, see who wins it. And then Verstappen also came back in, and I think at the start of the season I would have said flip a coin as well, although there's roll a dice, a 3-sided dice, see which one it lands on, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, and pick them. But luckily for me, because I wanted to see Norris win, it meant that I picked him, and that makes it 3-2. Definitely a close call though, 2 points separated.
So then moving on to the constructors, and again, this one slightly different. I do think you can sort of go off a bit more of a trend on the stats on who's going to win it. So for me, McLaren winning the Constructors' Championship. They just seem to suit each track most consistently. Like, they obviously had their better tracks, which their car was much more suited to.
And yeah, okay, for this one with Constructors, I'm not actually surprised with this one. This is probably the easiest one to get right. We go 3 for 3. Not much to say on the Constructors. We knew McLaren were going to be strong coming into the season, so I'm not surprised that I put them to win the Constructors' Championship after winning it in 24, going back-to-back in 24, now 25. Yeah, 3-3. We're break even. Can we finally get back into this form with the best of the rest?
Who is going to win the best of the rest? So that's anyone who's not in the top 4 teams. Who's going to beat them? Well, Williams, Alpine. I'm going to do it for drivers, but you know, Sauber, Bortoleto. No, for me, it's going to be the man who very much impressed me in 2024. And I think he's going to continue that trend going into 2025, potentially hoping to get a better seat in 2026. But it's going to be Pierre Gasly of Alpine.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Pierre Gasly. Oh my God. That is such a bad shout. That is probably the worst one of the video. No, the pole positions were worse than this. And hey, if we're talking about on general midfield drivers, I think Gasly had a stonking season considering where that Alpine was. Even just getting that amount of points to his name. Teammates didn't even pick up any single point for them to the Alpine constructor. But not even close to Williams. That is such a bad shout. That's definitely 4-3.
For the biggest surprise of 2025, I have actually gone with no one else but George Russell. And I'll say why. And it is because, again, new regulations coming in 2026. All of the field is going to get tighter. Means qualifying is going to get so much more important than it was even still in 2024. And we know how good George Russell is on a Saturday, putting that one lap in. Maybe his race pace isn't the best, but sometimes, especially at tracks like Singapore, imagine if he was first place, race pace then doesn't matter. Street circuits, there's a lot of places on F1 that is hard to overtake. So if you're just in first place and your car is still like the third or fourth fastest car, considering how close it would be, I think that might be enough to get him a few wins and really carry Mercedes this season.
You know what? I'm taking this one. George Russell definitely was one of the best surprises of the season. Was he the biggest one? This is where it gets up to debating. Comment down below, who do you think the biggest surprise of the 2025 season was? For me, if I was being really, really harsh, it'd have to be Hadjar, just because everyone completely wrote him off and then he got a podium. He's one of the best in the midfield. But George Russell, also, a lot of people just write off. And George Russell was the only non-Red Bull McLaren driver to get a race win this season, and he actually got 2 in Canada and Singapore. So I do think people undervalued how important Russell was going to be for Mercedes this season. Mercedes got second place in the constructors because of Russell as well. So is he the biggest surprise? For me, he's definitely one of the biggest surprises. So I'm taking the point here. It's 4-4. But yeah, there's definitely some arguments to say that it wasn't him.
For the final prediction of the 2025 season, who is going to be the worst driver on the grid? I think he's gone under the radar, and we need to make sure that he remembers just how bad he is in F1, and that is obviously Aston Martin's Lance Stroll. I think if Aston Martin really aren't the 5th or 6th fastest car on the grid, as we saw for a lot of the end of the 2024 season, he's going to struggle to get out of the bottom 4 most Grand Prix weekends. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So keep an eye out on Lance Stroll. He's going to be even worse, potentially. Maybe. We'll see what Hadjar and Doohan could do. But for me, everyone's forgetting just how bad Lance Stroll can be. And if he's not got that Aston Martin helping him, he's not doing it.
And then for the final prediction, you know what? I wasn't far off, and he got so lucky with some of the wet weather races that for some reason he just becomes Senna masterclass by Stroll when there's a wet weather race. But again, he got completely decimated by Alonso, and Alonso had one of the most unlucky seasons I think I've ever seen from an F1 driver, especially the first half. He just couldn't finish a race. It was incredible. Either he was getting crashed into, or mechanical issues, or bad strategies. All 3 of them were big issues for Fernando Alonso. And Lance Stroll, at some points, was actually ahead of Alonso. That was so painful when it was happening. But I do have to say, he definitely wasn't the worst driver on the grid. That one has to go for, of course, Colapinto wasn't there at the start of the season, so I would have never put Colapinto. But it definitely would have been Jack Doohan if we're talking 2025 start of the season. Because Colapinto, for drivers who ended it, drivers who didn't end it, Jack Doohan. Jack Doohan definitely was the worst driver on the grid. By far this season, he was not so great. So that does mean we end with a loss, with a bad take, 5-4. So overall, it's not terrible from me. You know what? I will absolutely take almost being even Stevens with these predictions, because considering a lot of them were hot takes, a lot of this was before any racing had been done. It was just after testing to almost get break even with all of these. And I would say pole positions, the constructors being close, and Pierre Gasly. So I'd say 3 of the 5 are completely outrageously wrong. And you know what? Some of the other ones I got wrong weren't terrible. They weren't completely terrible. Like the 6 drivers or more, you could understand where I was coming from there. But overall, let's try to see if we can beat my record next year, which I'll be making a video of my pre-season predictions for 2026 all the way in February, so we've got a long way to go. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. And for anyone who's interested in what's going to be happening with the winter break on this channel, well, it's going to be like last season. I'm going to do a few historic races. I'm going to do a few just fun videos. More just, 1 or 2 videos a week. Nothing too outrageously hard to make videos, just because I just want to have a bit of fun and a little bit of a chill out before we get back into the F1 Fantasy craziness and just the start of the F1 season as well, making videos and all of that. But yeah, thank you all so much for the support. Thank you all so much for the support over the winter break. And hey, I will see you all very soon. Take care, everyone.